couple interesting perspectives, one from the far right and one from the far left, but both agree on one thing: Idaho is getting more conservative. Hey everybody, it's Kory. Thanks for joining me. So how about that election, huh? I could not be happier with the results of the last election, and I'm looking forward to seeing true governance as President Trump moves forward with his agenda. And thankfully, the country as a whole, every single state in the union, moved to the right this election cycle compared to 4 years ago. But let's talk about Idaho. For the last 30 years or so, people have been talking about Idaho turning blue with all of the growth that's been coming to the state from California, Oregon, Washington, and other progressive states. The prediction has been, just give it time, Idaho will turn blue. And I've been arguing for the last 8+ years on this channel, and you can go back into the archives. I've been arguing that Idaho is getting more red. And this election cycle backs that up. So if you look at this graph here, you'll see these are the top 10 states that voted for Trump. And who's at number 4? It's Idaho. Now, for this particular set of data, we're going to be looking at Wikipedia, and they've done a really good job of articulating the history of politics here in Idaho, and they do this for every state. But what I want you to know as we scroll down, starting in 1863, is there's a back and forth between Republicans and Democrats. You can see right here, for example, during the 1930s and 40s, there was a dominant Democrat influence here in Idaho. And then in the late 40s, it went back to Republican, and it's been kind of mixed back and forth. And over here on the left, you can see these are your governors. And you can see here at the end of 1994, that was the last Democrat governor Idaho ever saw. And since then, we have had a trifecta. And then the Senate, you can see, has been dominated by Republicans. Prior to this election, Republicans held 28 seats in the Senate and Democrats only 7. This has changed. The Republicans actually flipped one seat in the Senate, where they are now standing at 29 and the Democrats at 6. And then in the House, this last election, the Republicans took over 2 seats, and we sit at 61 and the Democrats at 9. So to this point in the video, we've seen some data that shows Idaho is trending more towards conservatism as it votes in different general election cycles. But I wanted to take you into a deeper dive here and take a look at 2 ends of the spectrum. There are 2 groups here in Idaho, one on the far right, one on the far left. The one on the far right is the Idaho Freedom Foundation, and in full disclosure, this is a group that I subscribe to and support. And on the far left, we have the Idaho ACLU. And you'll get a good vibe for where politically Idaho is trending based on what both of them say. So let's get into that. Now, on the far right of the political spectrum, we have the Idaho Freedom Foundation. It is a great resource if you want to see things from the lens of the far right. Now, you can see here that their mission is to defeat Marxism and socialism by building a culture of liberty around America's founding principles so Idahoans can prosper. And on this resource, you'll see that they do scorecards on the different politicians. They actually rank them, giving them a grade. For example, here with Senator Hart, you can see that the foundation gives him an A+ in his Freedom Index and an A- in his Spending Index, and they do this for all the politicians here in Idaho. This resource also looks at the different bills that are brought up every year and dissects them and recommends or does not recommend what they are. So again, this is a great resource for you if you want to see things through the lens of the far right here in Idaho. But what I wanted to point out to you here, they wrote after the election that in addition, Republicans increased their supermajority in both the state house and the Senate. Counting up the seats won in May and November, this is the most conservative our legislature has ever been. It's time to deliver on some big wins Idahoans want, and this is what they're aiming for. Our Freedom and Family Agenda lays out the perfect roadmap to making Idaho a bastion of liberty and conservatism. Our legislators must work for us, and this starts with implementing universal school choice, repealing the grocery tax, providing property tax relief, dismantling DEI in higher education, making our state a fortress against illegal immigration, and budget cuts for bloated agencies. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the perspective of the far left here in Idaho, represented by the Idaho ACLU. And this is their 2024 legislative report and scorecard. And you guys, I encourage you to read this scorecard. They do it every year. They talk about the political environment here in Idaho from their lens. So as we scroll down, you'll see here that they title this report 2024 Winning in a Shifting Environment. But what's fascinating is that in order for them to claim winning, they had to redefine the word win, which is what we typically see with the far left is they redefine words when those words don't fit their agenda as far as truth goes. And they fully admit here that they had to redefine the word win. And they say it right here. In practice, redefining a win meant we worked diligently to counteract political apathy, amplify community voices, and correct false and harmful political rhetoric aimed at eroding civil rights and civil liberties. So a win for them was basically counteracting the wins that the right had. They didn't have any initiatives put forth. They can't do that. There's not enough political might on the Democrat side to bring forth woke agenda. So what they had to do here is they redefine a win, meaning that they combat the wins of the right. Another point to note here on this report is that they admit how the dynamics here in Idaho, the political dynamics, are shifting to more far right. Let's read this. This year, tensions within the Republican Party led to abrupt leadership changes, splits over the budgetary process, and contentious debates. Just 1 month into session, apparent disagreements over the new omnibus budget process led to the unprecedented ouster of then-Majority House Leader Megan Blanksma. The abrupt shift in leadership matters because it tells us something about the far right's influence and their tendency to bully rather than collaborate towards solutions. That is, the recent trend of legislation rooted in religious and specifically Christian nationalist ideology was even more apparent after the House leadership shakeup. Lawmakers appeared less willing or less able to speak out against discriminatory dog whistles, unconstitutional bills, or flagrant Christian nationalist ideals. Many appeared more willing to govern morality rather than legislate a more equitable Idaho. They go on to say Idaho is not alone in these trends. Rather, our state is part of a coordinated nationwide effort to gain power through extremist legislation. Christian nationalists and other far-right extremist groups are gaining influence quickly. The Christian Nationalist Idaho Family Policy Center, for example, is linked to dozens of anti-LGBTQ+ bills and laws. The organization's staff more than quadrupled between 2021 and 2024. Importantly, extremist groups not only draft legislation, they also target and ultimately unseat moderate lawmakers. So you guys, this is an excellent perspective of what's happening in the Idaho legislature coming from the left. Idaho is trending more right. So there you have it, a couple interesting perspectives, one from the far right and one from the far left, but both agree on one thing. Idaho is getting more conservative. Fascinating. So there you have it, a little bit of information on how Idaho specifically voted in 2024 and how Idaho is actually getting more red as time goes by. You guys, if you have more questions about relocating to North Idaho, remember we are a real estate team based out of Coeur d'Alene and we service the 5 counties of North Idaho. We would love to be a resource for you. There's a link in the description below on how to reach out to me. We can do a Zoom call if you like visual aids and maps. We can do a conference phone call. We can answer your questions in person if you're here in town. Or if you just like to send a couple questions via email, I'll get to those and personally respond to those. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We keep these videos coming on a consistent basis to help you learn how you can live better in North Idaho. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye now. Thanks for watching the video. If we haven't met yet, I'm Kory Martinelli. My wife Bonnie and I own a local real estate team based in Coeur, Idaho. Our personal journey to live better began in 2009 when we relocated our young family to North Idaho from Ventura County, California. We wanted to raise our family in a place rich with outdoor recreation and in a culture that treasured our strong conservative values. Leaving family, friends, and church was not easy. Perhaps the scariest decision was to leave behind 21 years as a deputy sheriff with Ventura County and finish my career with a new agency. But I did it and finished serving out my 3 decades in law enforcement as a deputy with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Department right here in North Idaho. While I was doing the easy part, working in law enforcement, Bonnie diligently raised our 2 children, battled breast cancer into remission, and started her real estate career part-time. Talk about a winner. After retiring from law enforcement in 2016, I joined Bonnie in real estate and we went full-time forming the Martinelli Realty team and this video channel. Since then, we have successfully navigated one of the most aggressive and competitive real estate markets in America to help over 300 families relocate to North Idaho. In that time, Bonnie has been recognized as one of the top 1% producing real estate professionals in the entire country. It is this experience that we have gained in the market that forms the foundation of our videos. If you are wondering if you can live better in North Idaho, we dedicate this channel to you.